Hey Gearheads, and welcome to Garage Talk, a discussion about all things automotive. I'm Cory.
And I'm Matt. And each week this podcast will serve as a catalyst for discussion on all sorts of topics that grind our gears, excite us, or just need a bit more conversation.
And on this week's episode, we have got a lot special in store for you. I've plugged it on Facebook. I've plugged it anywhere I can. I'm very excited about this week's episode, and we actually have a special guest in Spencer. Say hey.
Hey.
You ask for a hey, you get a hey. So
that's it.
We're very, very excited about this week's episode.
Hey, Cory.
Yes.
Are you excited?
Just marginally. Just a little bit. Just a teeny bit.
You can sit down now.
Yes. We actually get to announce what we're going to announce tonight. So I'm excited.
Don't tell him yet.
I'm bursting.
Just wait.
I don't. Yeah. Stay tuned. As we dive into this week's episode, we're going to talk to Spencer about his car history and find out what brought him here and why we have asked him to join us on Garage Talk. In the meantime, we would truly love to hear back from you. You can hit us up on all our social media platforms. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all at GT Garage Talk, or you can go to our website, gtgaragetalk.com, find out more about us, find links to all the platforms that we're on. You can find out everything about us on our website, gtgaragetalk.com.
Maybe even stuff you don't want to know about us.
Maybe even stuff. You can even find like these cool hats and shirts that you and I are wearing that they can't see us wearing right now.
Team Bronco.
Team Jeep. Team Jeep.
I almost had you saying Team Bronco that time.
No, I almost said Team Chevy because I drove here in my Chevy Cruze. So I'm a Chevy guy through and through.
Starting all kinds of fights, aren't you?
Yeah. Why don't we get to our special guest, Matt? This isn't all about us, right? So, Spencer, hello.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm probably just as excited as you are for this, honestly.
Have you had enough of us? Have we worn you out already? You've had to listen to a lot of us already up into hitting record.
Oh no, this is like the highlight of my week right here.
Yes.
Fantastic.
We've made the highlight reel, and you've had quite a week yourself, so we won't go into that. But we have asked you here for one specific reason.
Well, not just one reason.
Two main reasons. We'll go into two main reasons.
We like the guy. That's a reason.
Three main reasons. See, he's correcting me. I told you, he's the boss. I do as I'm told. Right? That's how it works, Matt?
Sure.
We have it on record now, so there it is. But, Spencer, you've had an interesting and unique car history.
Yeah.
So to speak. I asked you about the story of your first car that I actually read about online, and you did not answer that question the way I thought you would, because you asked which one.
Yeah.
Which is a very strange way to answer. Tell me about your first car, because I thought.
Right. You said, tell me about your first car, and I said, yeah, which one? Because I guess first we got to get this. Let's get this in the air. Okay. So what makes a first car? Is it literally the very first car you purchased, no matter how long you've had it? Or is it maybe the very first car that you had a lot of those first car moments in?
Yes.
Because
does that help?
Yeah, I mean, because I fit both of those pages like really well.
We're gonna have to back this off a little. We're less than 5 minutes in, and you're way deep, man, way deep.
Okay.
Yeah, we like to keep things light, and our brains are already turning way too much on this episode. You're making us think.
Yeah. So explain to our wonderful listeners what you mean by your first cars.
Okay, so my very first car I was handed the keys and said, "This is what you're going to drive," was a 2007 Kia Rio.
Shout out.
Yeah, it was gold.
Oh, nice.
It had manual crank down windows.
Nice.
It had AC. I think was the top feature on that car. It was pretty bare bones.
Yeah.
We had gotten it from a local dealership, and we'll leave that out of it.
Just leave it.
But we bought it on a Saturday, and I wanted, of course, what do you do when you get a new car? Come on, Mom, Dad, let's drive the new one to church on Sunday.
Oh yeah,
let's take it everywhere.
Monday,
I went mudding in mine.
That
would not have ended well in a Kia Rio.
Probably not.
No. A little low on the ground, to the ground for that. But
smidge.
Shoot, I mean, I would have thought that it would have been okay just driving down the road, but Monday I'm out, I'm running my excuses to drive my car.
Naturally.
And my mother was at the doctor's office, and her side of the story goes, she was suddenly called by a random number, and she just had the urge to pick it up, even though she doesn't. And it was me on the phone saying, "Mom, I wrecked my car." My side of the story is I'm driving home. I'm going about 60, and the faster than I can even really say what happened, I felt the front end of the car dip down, and the rear end of my car was suddenly trying to pass me.
Whoa!
And I realized
that's not how it works.
I realized that the way this is going is all of a sudden I am sideways, moving 60 miles per hour, and I'm across both lanes of traffic, and a car's coming. So I'm doing like as much wild steering as I can. It just didn't seem to be doing anything. I go completely off the road, and when the car comes to a stop, because anybody who's been in a wreck like that, you don't know what's going on until that car comes to a stop.
Naturally.
I ended up crawling out of the car through the passenger side because the driver's side was jammed, and this lady that was coming at me, she said she saw the whole thing. She's like, "You just flipped your car. You just flipped your car. I got 911 on the phone. You just flipped your car." I'm like, I don't know where my glasses are. I don't know where my cell phone is. I had like it's kind of cool. I had like this like center console. I could like make sure the cell phone was all safely tucked away, not a distraction and all that.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know where any of that was. It was not there when the car stopped. My glasses weren't even on my face when the car stopped. And then there's a pickup truck in front of me, and he saw the whole thing from like his rearview mirror.
Yeah.
And he's stopping, and he's like pointing at the car and everything, and telling me the car broke. And I look over,
Well, yeah.
and like, it's broke. Nature put it into the tree, I guess you could say. But there was an impact mark, on the driver's side, but it was not near the tire, but the tire was folded up underneath the car.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And we're looking at it, and there was this big old piece of shiny broken metal there, and it was the steering knuckle snapped.
Oh, no.
And
That's
I'm
not
like,
good.
that doesn't even make sense. I mean, you can watch cars crash all day long. That's not a common part to snap, ever.
No.
But what turns out is after 3 days after I bought this car, I mean, it was used by the time I got it and stuff, but 3 days after I bought this car, I'm driving home and my steering knuckle snaps.
That's not normal.
No, I mean, apparently the guy in front of me he was slowing down for a turn and just had looked in his rearview mirror right in time to watch my wheel fold up underneath my car and me just lose control of it. I mean, where do you go from that? Like,
No kidding.
That's the equivalent of like tripping over your own feet. Your car tripped over its own feet.
I mean, you see these pictures online that are always captioned "ka-chow," and they've got like a tire doing that. It's like, well, when you're going 60 miles per hour and that's what your tire does,
It's not fun.
it's like way not fun. It's like, what just happened? I have no idea.
Not
And then-
nearly as cool as
then
the pictures on
Of
Facebook.
course, the officer out there, he comes out there and he's like, "Oh, you're 17. Oh, well, this is going to be driving too fast in unsafe weather conditions."
Oh.
And I'm like, and it didn't dawn on me until like 2 days later. I was like, wait, what were the weather conditions?
Yeah.
It was like forecasted to rain later that day.
Nice.
That was the weather condition.
That was it. That was all of it.
I was driving too fast for rain coming later that day, even though I was like going the speed limit.
You should have known better, man.
I like tried to even like argue it in court with all the pictures and stuff, and I told, and like even the judge, it was a judge out of where is I? Anyway, it was a judge.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Young man, I think you really argued your case. The jury's going off and they're doing their deciding." And the judge is like, "I think you argued your case really well. I think you're gonna have good results." And I remember the bailiff coming back, and they're like, "Can we raise the maximum fine? They want to know about that." And then the judge is like, "Oh, that's not a good sign."
Ouch.
Wow. I'm like,
So you made it worse.
That was crazy. And then the judge was like, "No, don't raise the maximum fine. That's crazy." But
Wow.
I think it was because first of all, the court date got postponed twice. It was over a year by the time I actually had the court for that incident, which I think that was kind of right to a speedy trial. Apparently just means you're not going to be waiting in jail for 30 years waiting on your trial. It doesn't, I mean, it could be a year. That's fine.
Speedy is relative.
Yes, it is. Very, very much so. But Yeah, it was a really weird experience, and from there,
Great first car experience.
I did what any normal, teenager would do, and I started staking out what would then be my next first car, because the problem was I didn't have that car long enough to even have like memories of it.
Right.
I couldn't tell you I couldn't tell you anything about it. I couldn't tell you how many times I had to try to get it inspected or any of that. I mean, none of those items. I didn't ever.
07, it was gold. Had crank windows. That's
and air conditioning.
Yeah, and I mean that was it. That's all I can really tell you about that car. Like at all. That was it. I can't tell you what the interior looked like on it. So I just didn't. I wasn't in the car. I mean, I was out of the. When we owned the car, I was out of the car longer than I was in the car. I mean,
right. In fact, the post I read on Facebook was your mom sharing a story, and it was the only picture apparently that even exists of the car and you owning it, and that was like when you bought it. Because
it was like a picture of her, like of
3
me
days later.
and that was it, because I had taken like some pictures of it, but it was pretty overcast by the time we were taking the pictures, so it didn't come out really good. So like the best pictures I ever had of that car was of it completely totaled. Like,
oh wow,
like totaled my first car 3 days after I got it.
Everybody.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess when a car tries to murder you, it's okay to wipe those memories. That, like, to me, that seems like an acceptable, justified.
Right. I don't want to. When people are
vehicle.
when people are all sitting around somewhere, talking about their first cars, I don't want to talk about the car that I lost after having them for like 2.5 days. That's the weirdest thing ever. I mean,
the one that tried to kill you.
It was from a dealership. Okay, so of course it was probably a few $1,000s. My parents were the ones that were going to make payments on it. It was the insurance company that bought it.
Thank you very much.
Not sponsored, right?
Yeah. That's how that works. Catch on quick.
Yeah. My second car, which is the car that I like to say is my first car. I had a lot of first car moments in this car. And it was a 97 Geo Metro that I bought from my brother-in-law for $500.
Nice.
He told me that the radiator would need to be replaced, and it needs a lot of work.
It's a very vague statement. Your wife's behind you shaking her head very adamantly.
Yeah, she I met my wife in that car. That's a pretty funny story too, but I'm getting in this car, I'm thinking radiator, I'm thinking who knows what else. Yeah. What put out the radiator, who knows? Well, I get underneath there, and the bottom radiator hose was just dry rot and just falling apart. And so I got a good running driving car for $516.
Nice.
I drove that car for at least 3 years. But in that 3 years, I had everything that could break on it break.
Well, it was a Geo.
Which is a joint Suzuki. What was it?
Chevrolet.
What's the other one? Yeah, Chevrolet.
Yeah. GM, right, Corey?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that motor that threw the rod, I'm pretty sure that was actually a Chevrolet. 1 liter 4-cylinder engine.
A whole liter.
I had a whole liter, guys.
The 90s were not.
Yeah, they offered that in 2 engine packages. You could get the 0.7 liter 3-cylinder, or you could get the one that had the LS badge on the back of it, which meant luxury sport, and that came with a sporty 73 horsepower 1 liter engine. I'm like, wow.
All 73.
It had
all of them.
It had a 3-speed automatic, and it did not have first gear. It would get started in second and then just shift into third. There's this big running joke that if I drove on Highway 31, speed limit 70, that I could not speed. It is the car you want your teenage driver to your teenage son to be driving.
I could see that.
It did not have enough power to get itself above 70 miles per hour by a large enough margin to get pulled over.
That's fantastic.
I remember it never ran right. I mean, just never ever ran right. And she's still over here. She's still over here shaking her head over here. That car never ran right. I got on 31 one day, and I put the pedal all the way on the firewall. It hit 60 miles per hour at the time that 31 changes the speed limit from 60 to 70. And then I never quite got above 70 miles per hour.
Just trying its hardest. The little engine that could. I think I can.
The first time I got that car inspected, I had to take it back to the inspection place, I think 4 or 5 times.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, it was at least 4 or 5 times. I met my wife in there. We had our first date in this car, and
you still married him.
Yeah, it's a miracle, man. I must have done something right on a date that I did everything wrong on, because she chose to have a second date. I thought she just thought I was having a bad day or something, felt bad for me.
A mercy second date?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it was. I think she was like, we're going to let you try to have a do-over because everything just went wrong. I picked her up, and the car at the time, I actually had got this weird boneheaded idea at one point to paint it, but this was before I painted it. So it was a navy blue.
Okay.
With white racing stripes.
Oh. Of course it did.
Each one of those added like at least 25 horsepower.
At least.
Yeah, I mean,
right.
you can't even compare it to having 2 racing stripes, guys.
Bless its heart.
It had the rear window was tinted purple, and the side mirror windows were tinted blue.
Nice.
Very nice.
And it had like a 14-inch subwoofer in the trunk.
Ah.
So
it could go boom, but it could not do anything else.
That's a good way to put it.
So I pick up my wife in this car, and we're driving, and of course, you know how this is going. I'm we're gonna go get some lunch. We're gonna see a movie. It's August. This car doesn't have AC. I'm asking her, where do you want to go over the wind noises? And she's like, oh, I don't know. Anywhere's fine. I'm sure what she's really saying there is anywhere with AC is fine.
Yeah.
But I'm over here going, well, if you don't have anything you want, I'm just going to choose I'm just going to, I don't know what I was thinking saying this. I'm going to choose the cheapest place I could think of.
Well, I mean,
And she goes, yeah, that's fine. That's really fine. And so I'm looking, I'm like, well, just for the joke of it, what's the cheapest place within like eye shot? And I looked over and I said, okay, well then we're gonna go to Sonic. in a navy blue car in August in Texas that did not have air conditioning.
This isn't going well.
Her reply floors me to this day. It wasn't let me out of the car. It was, I got coupons.
Marry that woman right there.
Yes.
I'm like, so anyway, I bought the ring the next week. No, that part's not true. But we're eating there. We eat Sonic. We go to see the movie. We're gonna go to a little store. It used to be in town. It was called Rocket Fizz. It was pretty neat. Mm-hmm. She had never been. Well, my alternator dies on this date, and I'm over here having to ask like people every probably 4 or 5, 6 blocks if I can get a jump start.
Nice.
I ended up limping the car all the way back to her parents' house. She's like asking me, she's telling me, oh, my dad used to be a mechanic. He'll come look at your car and everything. But I cannot end it that way. Everything else
that
was going
thing.
So
Right.
great. I like the
Male
pride in my
ego.
brain. It was like that man ego was like, I am not going to have another man look at my car after having a date that somehow went as surprisingly well as this one did.
Yeah.
And so I was like, no, I'll make it home. Don't worry. I was like 1 block around the corner from her house calling my dad saying, hey, I need help.
Please help me. Make this stop.
Because like my dad already knew how bad the car was. Like, I'm not going to have another guy come over here and be like,
Yeah, there's nothing to explain to your dad. Like he
there's
sees
nothing to
you
explain to my
leaving
dad.
that
There's
thing.
like a lot of shame in like telling this girl I'm real interested in's father, hey,
Yeah.
I don't have reliable transportation.
Yeah.
Please let me continue seeing your daughter. By the way, I was thinking about taking her out again. Yeah.
It's okay. I promise it won't break down next time.
That's right. That's right.
But no, I had a lot of firsts in that car. I had like the first time I experienced an engine explode on me in that car.
I'm yet to have that one. You say it like it's just a normal thing.
Well, I mean,
at this table, apparently it is.
I feel like, can I tell you, I've had that happen 3 times.
Oh, gosh.
In 2 different cars.
Right. Well,
High five, sir. That's awesome.
So like, I shot a rod out of the oil pan and I took it to this mechanic because I had no idea what happened because I'm still like learning on this
for
thing.
those of you not mechanically inclined, That's very bad. Well,
yeah. So
sum it up. It's very bad.
So like there's a moving piston there. It's connected with what's called a connecting rod, and that's what delivers rotational energy to your crankshaft. And if that flies out of your engine, you're having a bad day.
Very
You're
very
having a
bad.
bad year.
This mechanic says, well, the engines for these things are pretty cheap. He says you can put one in for about $600, and he goes, or you could try to find another car for that. And I'm like, okay, $600. Here you go. Well, then he really did me a good one, and I get a call. He's like, hey, your engine's all good. It's running. You know, your new engine's in. It's running good and all that. He goes, but man, your transmission's just not working now.
Oh no,
That's going to be another like $500. I'm thinking, well, $1,100. I surely could have bought another vehicle. I mean,
no kidding.
Come on, but now I'm already like $600 in it, and I only have like $500 more dollars. I'm like,
Oh man.
okay, well, I guess I'm going to have to fix this too.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it was just one thing after another with that car, and I finally got rid of the car when it suddenly was having the rod knock issue again, like a year later, and I was like, I know what this is now, because last time I did this, I erupted in like this big white smoke cloud on the way to driving it to the mechanic, who charged me $1,100 for a car that was worth like $2,000.
You are a quick learner.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
So after that, I just scoured Craigslist for anything I could afford that said it ran and drove, and I got the most beat up Nissan hardbody that ever existed.
Oh, I don't know about that. Top
But
Gear.
it's well, that was a Hilux. That was a
That
Toyota.
is true.
So
Well,
Yeah, this was the most beat up Nissan.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, the only thing cool about those were like they had the same engine that was put in the American version of the 240SX.
yes.
So like everybody that drove the 240SX said, "Oh man, it's got a truck engine," and everybody that's like driving the hard body's like, "Oh man, I got like a drift car engine."
yeah,
So I don't know if you listened to the episode with my brother.
You know
he
I
actually had a 240SX, and yes, he did complain. It's got a truck engine. Let me
Yeah.
swap an SR20 DET into it.
Oh
Yeah.
man, but I mean, come on, like I saw a 240SX the other day,
Yeah.
and it didn't have a hood on it and had the twin turbos like mounted on the front up there. And I was like, "Oh man, this thing is sick." And it just sounded mean. It just
Oh, yeah.
sounded good, dude.
Yeah.
It was lowered and everything. There's just something primal that comes out of you when you see that.
absolutely,
It's crazy. Like,
absolutely.
So if I asked you, buy it new or build it, you're in team build it, huh?
oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
If you got the money to build it, man, just build it. Just
High five number 2 of the episode.
Man. I'm
make
just
it what
striking
you want. So this Nissan hardbody, that's the only car I've ever had that I actually broke even on,
Oh, hey.
and it's
That's a win.
it's like the weirdest story ever. I bought this thing for $1,000.
Okay.
I had
That's a good start.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I changed the oil in it, and the oil was like kind of thick. And a couple of weeks later, all of a sudden it had that familiar sound to it again. Except this time I was like, I cannot buy another car. I have to fix this. So
Yeah.
I did. I borrowed an engine hoist from a buddy of mine, and I bought a Haynes repair manual. And I somehow, by the grace of God, I mean, it was summer again. It was hot.
Of course.
By the grace of
Because
God,
it never
I
happens when it's
convinced-
actually decent weather outside.
Right.
Oh yeah, never. I convinced my mom to let me put a tablecloth down in my bedroom and rebuild my truck engine in my air-conditioned bedroom.
You are my hero.
I like literally, me and my dad, like, you know, we got a front. We don't have like steps in the front. We got a ramp,
Yeah.
and so we're wheeling an engine on a engine stand into my house after pulling it out of the back of my parents' PT Cruiser that I used to pick it up from the machine shop. It took like a month to even find the right crankshaft for that thing. It was crazy. Like, it was this whole wild experience. She's over here smiling because like she was like with me the whole way on that thing. But yeah, I rebuilt the
You've
engine.
had quite the journey, Becca.
Then I had it all rebuilt. It was good. Like, the engine was strong. I mean, it was great. I don't know how I did such a good job never having touched an engine before in my, the innards before in my life. I've always done like the small stuff on the outside, but
Right.
that was like the first real big project. driving it home. My buddy had been in town from the Navy, and I'm driving it home from hanging out with him all day on the loop, heading uphill. And in front of me, there's something weird going on. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. All of a sudden, his van starts rolling backwards. So I stop. I'm like probably 10 car lengths back. I just stopped, and there's an officer that suddenly comes around me. I'm like, oh, he's seeing it. He's gonna catch this guy. He's gonna figure out what's going on here. Why this guy's backing up on the loop. But he just kept coming. And like the officer kind of like tried to swerve in, but like the van just miraculously avoided the officer, and it came and it like tuna canned my left fender off of that truck. And because it was a 93 and it was already beat to just nothing, of course it was totaled.
Right. Doesn't take
but
much.
But it was just a fender, so I'm like, if I've rebuilt the engine, I can like rebuild a fender. I can put a fender on. That's fine. That's no big deal. I got this. Well, the insurance company gave me like $1,600 for that.
Dang.
I'm like, wow, okay.
That's a win.
Apparently, since it was a 93 and it was over 20 years old by that point, they counted it as a classic car.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
I'm like, wow, who would have thought?
I got the wrong insurance company.
Yeah, and this wasn't even my insurance company. This was like the other guy's insurance company. But that was an interesting time because I called my mom and I told her what the officer told me. I said, I've just been involved in a wreck that involved 6 cars and 2 houses.
Whoa!
That apparently this...
He's got the weirdest car stories. Let's see, he's had one trip itself. He's had multiple explosions. And how did you phrase that? You were in a wreck with what?
With 6 cars and 2 houses. What happened was...
when the story starts off with, see, what had happened was...
Yeah.
Well,
it's going to be a good one.
It was this van. It was all this van's fault. This van rear-ended a full-size pickup truck.
Okay.
And the guy was rendered unconscious, apparently. And he started free-rolling back down the hill.
Okay.
So there was 2 cars involved. Mine was the third.
Okay.
And the pickup truck apparently lost all brakes in a rear-end collision. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't know about that, but okay.
And rolled into the cop car?
No, he actually did not want to go, straight through this busy intersection that he got rear-ended at.
Right.
So he cut the wheel real hard to the right. He popped it up on the curb, and he ran into what actually are pretty much, I don't even know, like they're like condemned houses. They were just like buildings off the side of the loop. It was over there like across the street from like Palm Harbor Homes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's like these they're like little bitty, they're like tiny homes that millennials don't want to live in.
Yeah.
But like they're obviously condemned. So they were stricken off. But at the time, all they knew is that guy went and he like grazed one and then like went into the other one. Because apparently he had no brakes in his truck after getting hit rear-ended. But the van after it hit me, so that's 3 cars and 2 houses. Apparently that van struck another vehicle in the other lane. He jumped the curb, struck another moving vehicle, and then hit 2 parked cars, which stopped him.
That's awesome.
That was 6 cars and 2 houses.
I'm surprised your hard body didn't stop him.
Well, no kidding.
No, when I tell you at Tuna Can, it literally just like rolled my fender off of the car.
That's great.
It was like the craziest thing. It caught the corner of the fender and it just like literally just kind of peeled it open. Yeah, that's all it was. It was like so close. It didn't even like as like the angle and everything. It didn't even take off my side mirror.
Huh.
It just took off the fender.
Just the fender.
And we drove it to my grandfather's apartment. He was living in an apartment at the time. And we left it there. And the next day, I went up there. My mom dropped me off up there with my toolbox. And I just finished taking the fender off, and then I drove it home.
Or you can Jeremy Clarkson hammer it back on there.
That's right.
Yeah.
Beat it hard enough. And
so that car, I drove it probably, did all kinds of stuff on it. But it ended up sounding like rocks were getting thrown around in the transmission when I was shifting.
That's healthy.
Yeah. I told you guys, somebody, it had been trashed when I got it. You don't buy a $1,000 truck.
Yeah.
It's not it was in great, it was in great shape, guys.
Right.
But, so I was at a stable job at that point, and, I decided I was going to just go get myself a car payment, start building up the credit and everything. And I sold the car. So if we're keeping up here, I got I bought it for $1,000. Replaced the engine for $1,000. I got $1,400. I'm now only $600 in the hole.
Yeah.
And then I sold it to a guy in Louisiana for $800 just because I had put that I rebuilt the engine, and he called me and he asked me what I did to the engine. And I walked him step by step through what I had done to the engine for like an hour on the phone. And he said he's got a... What now?
You forgot the best part about who you bought the truck from.
Oh yeah, I'm skipping ahead here. Yeah, I bought this truck from these interesting shady characters. But when I sold my Geo Metro for like $100 to the first person who would just haul it off,
Yeah.
it was the same guys who sold me the truck that showed up to pick up the Geo Metro. And you know, after like I'd already had a couple of problems with the truck. And so like I didn't even feel bad about it. I was just like,
This is awesome. This is fantastic.
yeah, it was these guys out of Lindale, and they like showed up with this flatbed trailer, no straps. Their whole idea was, we're gonna pull the front two 2x4s off the trailer. We are going to use those as ramps to put the car on the trailer. And then we're going to remove 2x4s in front of both the front and the back wheels and then push it so it's sitting on the
Okay.
And then they had one guy ride back in the car so that if it...
Of course they did.
No.
This is for real. The people are going to be thinking I'm going to make this up, but no, they actually had one of the guys.
They put somebody in the car.
Okay, they had backed it up there. They put someone in the car, and their whole idea was that person's job was to press on the brake pedal if the car came off the trailer, so that they weren't liable. And
No,
I
that's
remember
not how it works, folks.
Somebody's liable. Somebody's going to jail.
I remember.
Please don't do that. Anyone who's listening, please don't do that.
I handed this guy my
Disclaimer.
title, signed and everything, and he goes, "Oh, I'm just gonna burn this. It's gonna be a race car. We're gonna Fred Lobster this thing." And I went, "Okay." And as soon as I could not see their taillights, I like went online. It was like 9 o'clock at night. They'd come after dark so that they wouldn't be caught with a trailer that didn't have lights and the tags on it.
Of course.
And like as soon as I could not see like their truck anymore, I'm like getting online and I'm doing that like, yes, I just sold my vehicle. Here's the VIN, and this is why I'm not responsible for it anymore.
Absolutely.
Because I'm like,
Take all responsibility away from me. No, thank you.
it was wild.
Oh man.
Yeah. So those were the colorful characters I bought this truck from, and like when I rebuilt the engine, I found like a little device in the underside of the intake manifold, and I ended up showing it. I was working for a little company that dealt with kind of automotive stuff. It was kind of an interesting company. It's definitely something for another day. But I showed it to one of my coworkers that was a mechanic, and he goes, "Oh, that looks like a NOS valve."
Nice.
I'm like, huh, that explains a lot actually.
NOS on a hard body?
I mean, well, you could think of it as like NOS on a 240SX with a bed.
Yeah. Be a fun little weekend toy.
That would be a blast.
Except like the hard body was like lighter in the rear end than the SX. So I mean, I'm sure it was like really going
Perfect
around
for
corner.
burnouts and
Yeah, absolutely.
drifting.
Yeah, it was all kinds of wild.
My wife's not going to like you after this episode. These are some wonderful ideas.
So I hinted at all this to Cory. I have a crazy story about almost every car I've ever owned. My next car that I replaced that truck with was a 2018 Kia Forte that I bought in 2019. It was a year old and it had 52 miles on it.
Nice.
And I bought it through a pretty well-known online car buying experience company, not sponsored.
Not sponsored. Quick learner. I told you, he's a quick learner.
And it was a great car. It had a manual transmission in it. I mean,
Shout out.
it was awesome. Like a 2018 with a manual transmission, that's pretty rare.
Yeah.
But it did have like the annoying little rev matching and stuff like. I mean, because of course it did and all that. It's gonna be annoying. It's gonna be weird.
Third high five.
But
That's okay.
But after driving it, I've been driving this thing for a year. You know, I inherited most of the big. You know, Kias are known now for their 10-year, 10,000-mile warranty.
Right.
And I inherited most of that warranty as a second owner. I got the 6 years, 600,000 mile, and it's only
Still
1 year
great.
old. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a great warranty for this car. And I had low payments. It was great. Great little car. Great price. So nothing
I
could go
feel
wrong.
a butt coming
Yeah.
along.
Well, after about a year of driving it, I started noticing the clutch was slipping. I was like, well, that's kind of weird, but maybe the previous owner just like didn't know what they were doing. I brought it back to the dealership. They're like, well, clutches they're not usually covered by warranty. It's a natural wearing part.
Right.
So that we'll take a look at it. We'll see what's going on. And they come back out. They said, well, this is going to be covered under warranty. You got an oil leak from the front end of your transmission on this car. I was like, oh, that's crazy. And he's like, yeah. He goes, it just happens sometimes. He goes,
Yeah.
He goes, pretty much, probably 1 out of every 1,000 cars, just in general. He's worked at like several dealerships. He goes, sometimes you just get new cars that the seal just wasn't put on right from the factory.
Nice. Somebody had a bad day.
Yeah, it wasn't a car made on Wednesday if you buy into that kind of thing.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, whatever. It's covered under warranty. They're going to fix it. I'm never going to have this problem again, most likely. Well, yeah, I see you knocking on the wood.
Yeah.
Well, that wasn't the problem. They're doing it. I get a call from the manager over at the dealership, and they're saying, hey, you going to come pick up your car? I said, oh, is it done? She goes, what do you mean? She goes, we can't work on this car. I said, what's going on? And she goes, she kind of told me about it. I got up there. I ended up talking to her in person. And she said every time that she tried to send the warranty claim in, it came back saying that the car was totaled.
What?
I'm like, I've literally had this car since the odometer read 5.2.
Oh, gosh.
How was it total? What are you talking about? She goes, well, you're just going to have to call Kia Corporate and figure all this out and all this. And so I'm calling Kia Corporate, and they're like, yeah, that car's totaled. You're going to have to go back to people who sold it to you. And I go back to people who sold it to me, and they're like, hey, buddy, you saw the clean blue title. I don't know what game they're playing with you over there.
Oh my goodness.
You need to get they need to honor that warranty because it has a good clean title. So I call back Kia Corporate, and I'm like, I got a copy of the title here. It says it's clean. They're like, well, no, it's definitely totaled. It's a salvage. It's actually marked to be crushed. I'm like,
Holy smokes.
I'm like, what?
That's an overreaction.
What is this?
That escalated quickly.
He's like, she says, yeah, it says it's not even supposed to be used for parts. I'm like, what does that mean? She goes, well, I don't know. We can't really divulge into, it's kind of like past history car stuff and, previous owners and all that. You can't really get into that. I'm like,
Oh no, you're gonna get into it.
I'm getting angry and all this, and I finally I decide I'm gonna call the state. I'm gonna call the state of Texas.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look up because that's who Texas title is what I've got. It's shown on this. I've got a lien on it, but I'm making car payments. But they're like, oh yeah, on our end it shows it's a clean title. So I contact Kia Corporate again, and I'm saying, look guys, you're the only people here telling me that this is up. If you can't provide proof, I'm going to have to seek legal action against you guys not upholding this warranty that the car was sold to me with.
Right.
And so they escalated it to their manager because I brought that L word out.
Yes.
And the manager said, okay, if you can provide that, proof that your ownership of the car, we can provide proof that it's totaled. And so I did. I faxed them all of the paperwork that I had been provided. And they called me back and they said, okay. They said that car was distributed to a dealer lot in down in the Houston area.
Oh no.
And being a 2018, it was on the lot when Hurricane Harvey rolled through.
No.
It was marked as on the lot, and they said, well, it's been flooded. They said, people can really clean that up really well, but it has been flooded. Therefore, it's not even marked to be supposed to be used for parts.
That is insane.
And they're like, so your previous people, they said that the insurance company that bought it should have handled having the title done. So I started going back and I started looking into everything. And I hadn't even looked in like the Carfax report, and it wasn't even on the Carfax report. But then all of a sudden it was on the Carfax report. Like when I got another Carfax report, it was like pending that same day that it had been put on the car. It was like that day it had been marked that many years ago.
Yeah.
I said, wait a minute. So I ended up tracing this thing back. I ended up getting in touch with a lawyer that I had association with, someone they were associated with. And this guy actually did everything for free. It was a real blessing. He wrote letters and everything to I found out
Whoops.
that, not a sponsor.
I'll bleep that one out.
yeah, just put the little beep.
Yeah.
Well, they contacted these people, and we through all the car history and everything, I ended up like going through multiple car history reports, not just Carfax. I ended up having to piece together a puzzle that what happened was this totally different car buying experience bought the car out of state lines and then sold the car to themselves back in state lines.
Oh my gosh.
From an auction that was put on by the insurance company.
Wow.
And so who messed up first? They both messed up.
Right.
But the insurance company shouldn't have even been auctioning that car off.
Right.
Wow.
That car was marked for to be destroyed. All of those cars were.
So
I feel bad for anybody else who's driving a car that's been sitting on those lots and still has yet to find out, and won't find out until like
Something major happens.
Years later, like say, they have a routine part that just goes out, and a little sensor or something gives an error, and
That's
they take it in
incredible.
there and they say, "Oh, we can't work on this car that you've had since the day you bought it with no problems because it's totaled." I mean, there's got to be. I cannot be the only one that's had that happen, and it's probably not just the people who sold it to me. There's all kinds of shady car dealers.
Yeah.
So that's my other. I mean, so far I've had a weird car story about every car I've owned. It's just crazy. I married my wife in that car, and then when all that happened, they finally
Must
the
have been a
settlement
small
was,
wedding.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there you go.
Dad jokes.
That
I've got
was
'em.
my honeymoon mobile. It was interesting. It was a good car. I mean, it was great. It was kind of nice on the inside and everything. Nicer than what you expect a Kia to be.
Yeah.
But then okay, so the settlement ended up being they're going to give me all of what I paid for a down payment, and all of the payments I'd made on the car back in like one lump sum.
Right.
And so that made a real nice down payment on a brand new Kia that I could pull off a lot before hurricanes happen to it.
Yes.
And that way I know the history of this one, and I get the 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. And my wife brought with her a Ford Ranger pickup that we just recently had major repair on it that I rebuilt the transmission with my father-in-law.
Nice.
Nice.
And then I bought this Mercury Grand Marquis that already had 260,000 miles on it when I bought it. And I bought it for only 3 digits. So it's great.
I love it.
So your car history has calmed down a little bit as of late.
Yeah. I've started, I guess, well, I mean, not really. I mean, that whole car issue, we haven't even had our second Kia a full year yet.
Yeah. That's crazy.
And then the one we bought had transmission go out like 3 months after.
Oh, yeah, you know what? There is a crazy story about that one.
You can't just have a car without.
We bought
without
that
issues.
transmission
I give up.
in November. We bought that transmission November last
Wow.
year. And January, my friend from the Navy came back in. I think it's him.
That's what it is.
But we're driving him. We've got another friend of mine. We got him and me and my wife, and we're all going to go out to dinner. And that transmission just starts acting funky. And I brought that car back to Kia, and we ended up getting a loaner car. And they told me that it's got one of those funky CVT transmissions.
I'm
in
sorry.
Boo.
It. Yeah, it sucks. But they're really nice when they work.
Yeah.
And
That's what
then
it sounds like.
Basically.
actually, mine's got like different driving modes. It's got a sport mode for whatever that means. You know what that means? That means it imitates having gears and just like it's actually really quick. You can't even like hear the gear change. It's like snappy. It really feels like it's shifting gears. It's the weirdest thing. But no, yeah, they had to replace the entire transmission on their dime. I was like, that's a little weird. But then they were like, yeah, this they like updated some stuff in there already. It was a brand new car. They already had transmission part updates.
Wow.
I'm like, okay, but we haven't had the problem since. So knock on wood that we won't have it soon. But hey, 10 years, 10,000 miles, Kia. I'm watching you.
That's right.
So on that wonderful note, we are going to take a minute to hear from our sponsors. And we're back. So I teased y'all a lot when this episode started. I teased y'all before we even recorded this episode.
Are you still excited?
I'm still very excited because we've got a big announcement, and we had to have Spencer here to share all that car history of his to kind of help frame this big announcement. And
Big picture.
big picture, yes. This did not happen in a vacuum.
No.
So, given you're awesome, awesomely horrible, awesomely great, awesomely
Epic.
epic.
I just
Epic.
love bad cars.
Yeah. you have a way with vehicles.
That's
man.
right. Yeah.
But given your history, well, basically, why don't you share with us and with our listeners exactly what you presented to us and why?
Okay, so I guess this was what, like mid-pandemic?
Yes.
That's the time frame. I mean,
Time is a blur. It's
sorry,
all relative
sorry for
now.
those of you who are
Yes.
in like California, you know, like still in mid-pandemic. But anyway, no, I mean, this was probably like 2 months ago
Yep.
that we really first started talking about it.
Right.
And it was like, the crazy thing was I wasn't 100% convinced that it was going to be taken seriously, like the first time I pitched it.
Oh man.
But like,
You
it
told
was,
the wrong people if you didn't want
it
to
was
be
like-
taken seriously.
It was like taken seriously from the minute I hit send.
Yes.
Like it was on. And I remember I sent this message, and I don't remember exactly what it said, but it said something along the lines of, "Hey, I do y'all take like suggestions?"
Absolutely, we do. I
And
am
yeah,
nodding
they're
my
like, "Yes. What suggestions do you have? What's going on?" I was like, "What would y'all think about doing like a car show that's like not like a normal car show?"
What do you mean by that?
Well, like
Please do tell.
normal car shows, you've either got, you got new car shows. You even got JDM car shows. They have PT Cruiser car shows in weird parts of the state,
Car shows with Lamborghinis.
Yeah,
Ferraris,
but
Corvettes.
everything's like
Expensive.
and nice.
Yeah.
And like then you got like classic car shows. And
Yeah.
those are cool, man. Those are cool, but
Also expensive.
Team
and
Camaro.
also nice.
Yeah.
And all that. But what if you had a car show for like the cars that actually do the work, like the 200, 300,000 mile
Absolutely.
dent, scratch, ding, broken windshield. My mirror got hit by a bird last week. True story. I'm not even adding that one into it. But like
Front
like,
fender gets tuna canned off the side.
yeah, I mean,
You
like
know.
what about a car show for the the cars we love to drive every single day? The ones not necessarily the ones we've worked on every day of our life.
Matt.
What?
But sometimes the cars we worked on every day of our
Right.
life, I've had a couple of those.
Yeah.
I mean, but the ones that we drive, the ones that we actually spend more time on the road in than we do polishing.
Yeah.
Because and what really got my idea on flowing on this is I was watching a YouTube video, and the guy in the YouTube video was prepping his car, showing his process of how he preps his classic car for a car show. And I was like, hey, this is great. This is pretty cool to watch. And then he said, all right, we're getting ready to go. And he drove it onto a trailer,
Yep.
and he drove it to the car show on a trailer.
Yeah.
And I said, all that work?
It's not
And
even
you're
a car
not,
at that
you're
point.
not
It's
even
a
letting
work
the
of art.
car. No, yeah, exactly.
You're not driving.
So
What's the point in
what
having a car?
What my dream for this car show is I want to look around and I want to see duct tape.
Zip ties.
Yes. I want to
Absolutely.
see baling wire. I want to see chewing gum. I want to see things that we're not going to talk about how that's going to pass inspection
Right.
next time.
Right.
We're not going to talk about how stained our parking lot is next week.
Shh. So,
know.
Wait, yeah, it's
car histories. I'm pretty sure I shared this in my car history, but a previous church that I went to, you can still, to this day, go and look in the parking lot and see the giant transmission fluid stain in the parking lot from where it bled to death.
That's the thing people don't realize. Like oil will come up, transmission fluid doesn't.
Oh my
No, it
gosh.
doesn't.
It
And
stains.
that
That's the worst.
smell is
Oh yeah.
forever ingrained in my nose.
What's only thing worse than like the smell of leaking transmission fluid is like burning transmission fluid.
Yes.
Yes.
And I've been there too.
It
So,
does that very well.
But no, I mean like just in general, just a car show to show appreciation for the cars
that do the dirty
that
work.
do the dirty work.
I love it.
I mean, everybody loves a good classic car show. Everybody loves watching that, but where's your show for the the 260,000 mile Mercury Grand Marquis of the world?
Yeah.
And that is where we come in. And that is where you come in as our listeners and as supporters of Garage Talk. So we are announcing tonight.
You're not going to tell them now, are you?
Yes, I'm going to tell them now.
Right
Garage
now?
Talk's first ever car show. And it's unlike any car show that's ever been done before. I've had many conversations since we've started working on this idea with other car show producers. And they're like, man, I've never heard of that. That sounds great. let's do that. And so we are calling it, we have dubbed it Garage Talk's Unlikely Heroes Car Show. And it will be Saturday, October 24th here in Tyler, Texas, hosted by Hilltop Church of the Nazarene. And we are still out there looking for sponsors for this show to help make sure it goes off without a hitch. And we are looking for cars for this show. So I doubt anyone's going to be able to top some of Spencer's stories.
No kidding.
But
you can try. Please try.
The challenge has now been issued.
That's right.
Please top these stories. So the bar has been set. We want to see your daily drivers. We want to see your dents, your dings, your rust, your zip ties, your duct tape, your bubble gum, whatever you've got holding your vehicle together. We want to see it. Ever since we've really started rolling with this idea, as I see cars around town, I'm like, oh, that'd be a perfect one. Oh, that'd be a perfect one.
Yeah.
I love that one. Oh, I love that one. And it's not even like looking, I admire these cars. They're still running. They're still doing the dirty work that most other people would have cast them aside by this point.
Like a 08 3-valve 5.4 with 172,000 miles on it.
Yeah, kind of like that.
So I can be in the show?
You can be in the show.
Yes.
And we've got countless. I've already started asking friends and family. We've got some connections with some pretty interesting car stories behind them as well. Tons of miles collectively amongst them. If you go back and listen to our Tacoma episode, we met a friend through my brother-in-law Jeff. We'll call him Dexter. Dexter's Ford F-150 should be in our car show. So I'm so excited about this car show. You have no idea. It's why I've been bubbly and giddy since Tuesday when y'all saw me on Facebook Live promoting us recording this episode. But I cannot wait.
It's going to be a lot of fun
to have everyone here because we are recording at the site of our car show right now. And we cannot wait to have everyone here and just to see what people have done, what you, our fans, have done to keep their rigs moving and to keep their lives going with the rigs that they've got. And so we are, like I said, we're looking for sponsors for this because we've got prizes that we want to give away and awards that we want to give out. So things like the highest mileage vehicle, that absolutely deserves a prize.
Oh, yeah.
I'm kind of curious what stratospheric numbers we're going to see when it comes to high milers.
That'd be awesome.
Best DIY repair, the sketchiest or most likely not to pass the safety inspection.
My favorite is the leaky bladder award for
Absolutely.
the biggest puddle left underneath the car. That is brilliant.
And we will have a People's Choice Award, so anyone participating and coming to the show can vote on their favorite, and you can use whatever criteria you want for this car to be your favorite.
Okay, I'm cutting you off.
All right.
We can't give them all of the details
oh my goodness,
about the show.
But I want to. There's just so much going on.
We don't have all the details figured out yet.
That is true. So, in the spirit of full transparency with y'all and making sure y'all are completely up to date, you can go to our website. It's gtgaragetalk.com/car show, and we will update that page with every bit of information we have as we get it, as far as location, how to register. We've already got registration is open.
Do we have anybody registered yet?
Not currently. So we are just announcing it right now. So registration is open. We're doing registration through Eventbrite, and due to safety concerns, COVID nonsense and all that stuff that's going on, we wish it wasn't a factor, but it is. We are planning this from the ground up to be a COVID safe event. So we're planning plenty of spaces between participating vehicles. And to that end, space is a premium. So the first 50 cars that register will get in. 50. And that's all we've got space for on this one. We'll see how this goes. And who knows, it might open possibility for bigger and better things in the future. But like I said, all information as it becomes available will be on our website, gtgaragetalk.com/car show.
Absolutely brilliant idea, Spencer. We love it.
Yes.
We appreciate having you on the show. It has been a blast talking to you, listening to your epic stories about the hell you have gone through in some of your vehicles.
Has it been? Oh, boy. It builds character.
Yes,
Absolutely.
It does. And to that end, we thank you, our listeners, for listening to these stories and listening to us and playing along. Like I said, you can find out more from us at gtgaragetalk.com. Go and register your car for our car show, gtgaragetalk.com/car show. We cannot wait to see you here. Is it October yet, guys?
Not yet.
I'm ready. I'm
Not
ready.
yet.
Cooler weather.
Oh,
Cooler
yes.
weather.
I am ready for that.
Bye, guys. Hey Gearheads, Cory here. And if you liked that interview and would like to hear more, even a blooper or two from our recording, head over to patreon.com/GTGarageTalk. Sign up for our 1LT Camaro tier and you will be granted early access to unedited episodes. You will get to hear everything that goes into Matt and I making a recording of Garage Talk, as well as some bonus content from our guest. If that's not enough, browse through our many other tiers and see what perks come with each level. We appreciate all of you, and we thank you for listening.